This is your host, Brendan, and you're listening to the Ordinary to Ultra podcast. Each episode, I bring in an ultra runner and ask them about their journey to their first ultramarathon, or their first time running a new ultra distance. We'll dive into why they started running in the first place, why they decided to run an ultra, the obstacles they encountered, and what it took to get to the finish line and beyond.
By all, data, I crushed it because it was a sub 4 hour marathon. So, a whole hour and 42 minutes knocked off my time. And, a lot of the people even I run with would like anything sub 4 is like, something they dream of. And to me, I hate to say, I'll be honest, I was not happy. Finishing a marathon, number one, is something anybody should be proud of. Finishing with a good time also. But I realized it was all in vain. Who gives a crap if you do a 4 hour marathon? No one in the world other than maybe your mom and yourself is going to care, that's not setting any records. No one is, the world's not shaking, nothing, means anything. You just wasted 4 hours of your life running in circles, essentially. So that kind of brought me to that, quote unquote existential crisis of why am I doing this, right? Why did I do this marathon in the first place? And realizing, okay, this pace, none of this stuff matters. Why am I running?
Hey everyone, your host Brendan here. That was Devin Wagener. What a guy. Devin is 36 years old. He's from Arlington, Texas, but now lives in Nashville, Tennessee with his wife and 2 kids. He is the director of an ESL, or English as a Second Language school. And if he's not running, you'll probably find him reading a book, maybe Man's Search for Meaning, one of his favorites, or traveling. He's been to over 22 countries, or spending time with his family. In today's episode, we will dive into Devin's why. We'll talk about why he originally started to run, and then we'll get into this existential crisis he had, which was a really important moment in his journey. It gave him an opportunity to reflect and really raise his purpose to the next level. Devin definitely inspired me to take my running purpose to the next level, and I bet he'll inspire you as well. All right, let's get into it. All right. Hey, Devin, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here today.
Hey, Brendan, thank you for having me. This is actually a true joy and honor to be able to talk to you. We've, chatted back and forth, but now to be able to do this episode, so I'm excited.
So excited to hear your full story. You've teased it to me over this last chat that we had, and then over the last few weeks we've been connected. I'm really excited to get the full gist here. I'm just curious, have you gone on any fun runs or adventures lately? Yeah,
good question. And also a good thing to keep at the top of my mind, right? I guess because I haven't actually since the summer. Well, I did do a recent actually run. I forgot about that one. But as far as a running adventure, that was the summer. So the most recent though, I did do a half marathon kind of on a whim because of the organization and what they were doing. It was a local organization here in Tennessee. It was their first annual half marathon that they were sponsoring. All the funds go to. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the organization. I have the cup right here. Actually, Rest Stop Ministries. So it's an organization that helps women that are being sexually trafficked or rescuing them. Here in Tennessee, unfortunately, it's a big problem because of all the interstate logistics. There's several different interstates that pass right through Nashville area that all connect, and also straight down to Atlanta, which is a huge international airport. So that's the good and bad, I guess, of Nashville is fact that, as being a hub, but unfortunately negative hub as well. So not to, say anything bad about Nashville, but that's an unfortunate thing. And so just being able to be part of that. And so that was the most recent. I was about a month or two ago.
Awesome. I mean, what a cause to get behind. I love it. Um, Slight side tangent. I spent some time in Peru a few years ago, and we worked with um, human traffic, like people who had been through human trafficking. We
Mm,
helped some of these women, in their recovery process, and we particularly were teaching them business skills as part of
mm.
business school. And it's such a rewarding thing. But anyhow, I just love that cause that you're running for.
No, yeah,
Really,
that's
really
great.
awesome.
Thanks for mentioning that because I did something kind of similar in Bolivia, which I can talk about later. But I was also going to ask you too if those were because I couldn't really tell from your profile picture if those were llamas that you took a
Oh,
picture with.
yeah.
So I figured that's what it was.
Yeah.
But now that makes sense now.
Yes, I think they're all maybe no,
All
maybe there was
alpacas.
one llama.
Yeah.
Maybe it was they're different and they will tell
Yeah,
you
well,
that.
I can ask my wife about that. There's alpaca, there's llama, and then there's oh man, there's actually four different kinds. There's like the
Yes.
little almost rabbit size, and then like a dog
Uh-huh.
size. And I forgot the
Vicuña?
name. I'm blanking on it right now. But yeah. So
Yeah.
for those that know that there's there's more than just the llama out there, so more than the llama.
That's right. No discriminating against the alpacas. They are there. Um, awesome. Now I'd like to go back in time a little bit and ask you why you started running. Whenever that was,
Mm.
what got you into running?
Okay, so story time. This started. I was in college at Louisiana Tech University, and I was actually just about to finish. Was my senior year. I think it was my last quarter, which we were on the quarter system. For you guys that don't know, it's um, different than semester. It's kind of broken up into quarters. So, anyways,
Hmm.
I was near the end. I was taking a speech class. It was kind of one of those prereqs to graduate kind of thing. And kind of like most people putting it off to the end, especially with speech. But the professor I had was really cool. I really admired him. He was a great communicator, just a cool person, and was meeting in his office for, something I don't even remember, but he had all these race bibs and medals and Iron Man, all kinds of, memorabilia right on the back of his wall of his office. I was
Mm.
just asking him about it, and um, I don't remember how it got to it, but he's like, "Yeah, you could run a half marathon. All you got to do is just jog for 2 hours." Um, and so I just took it upon myself as my challenge for my 30th birthday to run a half marathon because there was a local one there on my 30th birthday. And I just literally went into it with the mindset of what my professor told me was all you got to do is jog for 2 hours. I was like, okay, I can do that. I'm fit enough. And of course, it kicked my butt.
True.
Um, but that was kind of tying back to the Man's Search for Meaning because I was studying psychology, and that was one of the books read by Viktor Frankl, and he quotes another philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, which says, "He who has a why to live can surpass almost any how." So, with that being said, if you have a big enough why for what you're doing, you can surpass any how. So, my why for completing that half marathon was simply, I can and I will. And that was it. No questions asked. I just said that mantra to myself the whole time, just like I can and I will. And I didn't stop. I just jogged for 2 hours. And that's all. That was my only goal. I didn't have any good running shoes. I had like some beat up Walmart shoes. I had like just a long sleeve, just t-shirt on or something. I was not prepared at all. But I made it, it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes or whatever, which, a respectable time for probably anybody. But, at that time, it was just like, okay, I did something big with my life and, you know, I survived. And then, you know, I wonder what a marathon would look like.
Yeah.
Because that was a
Oh yeah.
half, right? So it's like, well, what's
Uh-huh.
next, right?
Uh-huh.
And I sat on that idea or that thought for probably, I want to say it was at least a year or two. Um, Definitely a year, maybe two. And then I finally just pulled the trigger because it was a local marathon. And um, it was also around my birthday. So I said, oh, what the heck? So I thought I trained for it. I did get some decent shoes. If you guys if you're familiar
Ultra.
with
All
those
right.
those are the ones I run in.
The brand. Hmm.
They're a brand. They for their wide toe box and the zero drop, meaning like basically flat shoe. So not
Hmm.
for everyone, but something I like and what I love in running. Not that
Okay.
I'm, sponsored
So
by any Ultra or anything. It's just something that I think is out there in the you'll see it in more in the trail running world and
okay.
the ultras. Anyways, Ultra.
I'm curious about the difference. Are these so are the heel is like particularly low, and then it's like let's say I run in Hoka's for
Hmm.
anyone who knows what
Hmm.
the Hoka brand is, and those things have like massive
Yeah,
heel cushion. So is that sort of the difference
basically the
there?
opposite. Yeah, pretty much
Yeah,
the opposite
okay.
of that. Yeah, yeah. It's pretty much a zero drop, meaning so it's not elevated, it's flat.
Yeah,
And
flat in the
it's,
heel.
not
Okay.
as cushioned, definitely not compared to Hoka. Hoka's obviously the leader in cushy.
Yeah.
So
So you got strong
but
feet, is what you're telling me.
yeah, they do. Yeah, well, I think so. I used to actually run in those sandals, the like zero sandals.
Oh,
That's kind of how I got into
like some
the zero
Chacos
drop.
or something, or
Yeah,
some
those
Tivas?
yeah, basically that stuff that the man, what's
Dang.
the tribe in Mexico, that that runs on the,
Oh, shoot.
yeah. So anyways,
Don't
I
know.
didn't run in those that much, but I was used to zero drop shoes, so
Cool.
it was just fine for me. I have big old feet, so that's why the wide toe box and all that stuff. So anyways, yeah, it's not for everyone. I get it. They now finally decided after so long they make a 4 millimeter drop shoe now for Ultra. So
Okay.
4 millimeter, which is like
Slight.
the size of a pencil, like of anything.
Wow.
So sidetrack there for a
Uh-huh.
minute, but the
Sure.
marathon. So I actually got some shoes.
Yeah.
I actually thought I trained. I was following like the Nike app. Missed a
Okay.
bunch of workouts, of course, but I did, fairly consistent. I thought I was pretty ready. And
How
I
many
did
days
okay for
how many
huh,
days a week do you think you were running for training?
maybe 3 days a week.
3 days?
I tried to
Okay.
do four or so, but to be honest, I probably did two or three,
Okay.
because I just, wasn't as committed, and just didn't know what I was getting myself into, to be honest. Um,
Sure. Any
so I did
idea?
okay till about mile, mm, 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there.
Okay.
I think it was around 16. And that's when I pretty much broke down, and had to walk for like 2 miles, and then just pretty much slogged the rest of the way just to finish it because, you know, I didn't care about my time. It was about finishing, like, period. I was
Hmm.
going to finish the marathon. I didn't care, what, I'm going to finish this. So it ended up being like 5 hours and 42 minutes or something ridiculous that even someone walking could probably beat me at right about now. So all that to say, I guess, is my humble beginnings of I'm nowhere, like these Boston qualifying people or anything. That's where I started. So
That's where you
then I
started.
guess,
And your why was your why to show yourself that you could do something hard? Like yeah, that's what you
yeah, with
mentioned
the
in the
with the
half
marathon,
marathon.
yeah, the
Yeah.
marathon, it wasn't as profound either. It was just kind of like, yeah, I can do this. Like, prove it to myself. Like, I don't know, like
Hmm.
check the box. I did a marathon kind of thing, essentially. I mean, as selfish
Sure.
and self-serving as that might sound, but it was just, yeah, kind of prove it to myself I could do it.
Well,
I
sure.
guess.
Sometimes you just need to show yourself that you can do hard things and trust yourself, like I think all of us probably say we're going to do things and then we don't. And
Oh yeah,
I think,
100%.
yeah, it can be self-defeating and we start to lose trust in ourselves and our ability to follow through. So just making yourself finish. I love the grit that you showed during these races. You're pooping out at 16 miles. You still got 10 left. Like there's a long way to go,
Oh
but
yeah.
you
And it
have the
wasn't the first
grit.
time. I can tell you of another marathon that was like that. But um so so I did it more than once, yeah. But yeah, that marathon. And then, of course, I took a whole ton of like notes in my mind about that marathon of all the life's philosophies, how people, excuse me, always say like, "Oh, life is like a marathon." I was like, well, I always tell all my friends for like the first 2 weeks, and anybody that would listen is like, that analogy is bullcrap, or basically like, well, if life is like a marathon, then life freaking sucks, like, like then life really sucks when you get 16 or something like that, just like, I mean, I was destroyed. I made it, and I was very proud of myself, and I still lived the next day, but yeah, it was, I was nowhere near prepared for it, but yeah,
Yeah, maybe
so
what they're trying to say is you feel really accomplished when you do it, but it is hard. I don't
for
know.
sure.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
so I don't want to
That
sugarcoat
could
where
be
like, yeah,
funny.
anybody can do it. Like, I mean, you can, but yeah, you do have to, some determination, some training, some smart, some of it's I think especially with running is another thing that I've learned, and anybody that starts running, I mean, even myself included, I've been running for a couple of years now, is still
Mm,
some days I don't want to do it. Some days it sucks. Some days, so it's not even so much the physical sometimes, it's just the mental. And I think especially with ultra or well, especially with ultra, I would say more than anything. I think it's, you know, way, in my opinion, heavier mentally than it is physically. Yes, it is
yeah,
physical because you're taking a lot of wear on your body, but at that point, it's your mind telling your body to stop, not necessarily your body. At least that's my perception, because the funny thing is that after the marathon, after you've run 26 miles and you just keep going, I mean, you're really not going to be any more tired than you were mile five. It's just taking longer. I mean, um, so I don't know. And that's the funny thing
fair.
is I ran the like 46 miles overnight that for that big event. And, if anything, I was actually probably fresher from that than a marathon, just because of, I guess your body just kind of, just adjusts after a while and realizes, hey, he's not going to stop, I guess. So better just, get used to this or whatever. I don't know.
Dang, that's an interesting point. Okay, okay. So, what led you to deciding first to run an
Mhm.
ultra marathon and ultimately running it? Like, how'd the idea come to you?
So, this was tying back to that first marathon, and then I ran another marathon last year, December. Yes, last year, December. Rocket City, for anybody that's familiar, that's in Huntsville, Alabama. That was my second attempt at a marathon, and by all, data, I crushed it, because it was a sub 4 hour marathon. So, a whole
Oh,
hour and 42 minutes knocked off my time. And, a lot of the people even I run with would like anything sub four is like, something they dream of. And to me, I hate to say, like, I'll be honest, like I was not happy. Like I wasn't satisfied because it was like I had bigger goals than that. Number one, I mean, I know that sounds, I don't want it to sound prideful and some kind of arrogant, but I had actually trained for this one, and I was, at a faster pace and all these other stuff. But
hmm.
the same thing happened. Basically, mile, 16 or so, I kind of crashed, and just everything was tight. I finished it because luckily my first half split was so fast that, that I just pretty much dragged the second half and still had a good time. But,
Mm,
um, yeah, it sucked for the last 10 miles still. And,
mm.
still trying to figure out what that is. And, I know it's electrolytes, figuring out how to solve that, and when to take them, how much to take them. That's still something I'm playing with, but I can tell you it's gotten better since then. But all
Mm.
that led me to that disappointment of, even though I completed something, you know, finishing a marathon, number one, is something anybody should be proud of. Finishing with a good time also, but I realized it was all in vain. Like, who gives a crap if you do a 4 hour marathon? Like, no one in the world other than maybe your mom and yourself is going to care, like that's not setting any
Fair.
records. No one is, the world's not shaking, nothing, means anything. Like, you just wasted 4 hours of your life running in circles, essentially. So that kind of brought me to that, quote unquote existential crisis of, why am I doing this, right? Like,
Mm.
why did
Hmm.
I do this marathon in the first place? And realizing, okay, this pace, none of this stuff matters. Like, why am I running? So I sit there and kind of ask myself that question of like, okay, I've checked the boxes as far as, I can do a marathon. Okay. I've, made some record or whatever, right, for myself. But why? Like, so I, you know, sat there and, played with that or, stewed on that, marinated on that, I guess. So, I basically boiled it to a couple different things, but, you know, I doing it for, as an example to my family, my kids of, hopefully that my kids see this, that dad can do tough things. He takes care of himself, something to admire in the sense of a father, but also running for those that can't, those that are maybe disabled or just not able to, is to help, some kind of inspiration there. Running for um, causes is the big thing. And that's the bigger why, and which got me into ultra is,
Mm.
okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this for a bigger purpose than myself. And so there's lots of people that do this, raising, fundraising when they're running.
Hmm.
And I just happened to find a organization. So it first started with, we were going to Bolivia last year and where my wife was born. And there's an organization there called A Breeze of Hope, or in Spanish, Una Brisa de Esperanza, that they use, the resources to, like you mentioned about the children and women there that are facing sexual violence, that are survivors of sexual violence, helping them with essentially jobs, in the sense of being able to create things for themselves, to be able to create income, because unfortunately,
Hmm.
they're usually abused by their family members and therefore not able to live with their family members, and they are not protected by anyone else, so they're on their own. And a woman in Latin America is very vulnerable, especially, if you're a younger person with no, higher education and stuff. So,
Right.
giving those people the tools in a practical sense, but also supporting them with, food and clothes and other essentials. So for my 35th birthday, I decided I'm going to run 35 miles to raise money for that organization, since we were heading down there to Bolivia anyways. And raised $4,000 that we were able to give them,
Wow.
and see the organization, see what they do, meet people. And so that was very inspiring, and that's what kind of got me on the ultra kick of, not the fact, it is another thing to, I guess, prove to myself that, I can do hard things, and hopefully inspire others to take that step to do hard things as well. But to, it's kind of like helping people. So you see someone running, like, why the heck would you run 35 miles, right? Well, let me tell you
Hmm.
why. And so it gives me that reason to tell that story. So I guess as far as that's kind of, does that make sense?
That's why. Yeah,
Kind of why.
that's an interesting take. It seems like a much more meaningful, it's a maybe a deeper reason to run. It's interesting because I know so many of us out there are running for different reasons, and they're all great reasons too. But that is an amazing way to take it to a deeper, a more meaningful level outside of yourself. I think, I mean, personally, yeah, running started out for me as a way to prove to myself that I could do hard things. And I think it's also a way to just get out and be in nature. And that's just
Mm,
rewarding.
hmm.
But what a way to take it to the next level. And 4,000 US dollars, I
Hmm.
imagine in Bolivia, that's
Yeah,
got to be making, a pretty big impact. I
yeah,
don't know how
that's
many people you were helping down there, but man, that probably spread pretty wide and far and made some impact. That's,
yeah. I think it was like $33 could basically help one person. So,
oh my
yeah, it's
goodness.
it's a pretty big impact. I mean, of course, that's, per month or whatever, but still, yeah. So Bolivia, it's a huge impact. So very, very grateful to all those that donated and supported me in that, and organizations and things that got behind me. So for sure, and it was a big birthday present. Also to
Right.
realize, it's not for me, it's for something else. And I guess another little point too of that bigger why is that when you get out there at, 29 miles or whatever, and you're hurting, and I don't want to do this anymore.
Ooh.
This sucks. I'm tired. I'm hungry,
Uh-huh.
blah, 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 whatever. You think about, okay, what about that girl that's, going through, abuse or whatever. You know, you think you're suffering, like you can quit this. Like this race will be done in, an hour or two and you'll go about your life versus, that young girl or whoever that, whatever cause you're doing, like, they're suffering for a lot longer than just a couple hours around the track or whatever. So,
Yeah, they
I don't
can't
know.
just
I guess
quit.
just put that in perspective. It just really makes you kind of suck it up and you know what, like this is, bigger than me. So
Yeah. Oh my goodness. As a great motivator, as a great motivator. Love the way you described that.
and I think if you can put more levels to it, the better. So if you have multiple whys, there's nothing wrong with having more than one, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, sometimes I need to switch gears because that one thought isn't doing it for me, like, like, the, I don't know. So, but yeah.
So this it was 35 miles, correct?
hmm Yeah, that was the 35 miles, when I first started as quote unquote ultra.
Yeah. What was this organized? Was it a race? Was it like what was
No,
the
so
run?
yeah, not
And
at all. It was
yeah.
just, yeah, it was my birthday. I told a bunch of friends in my running group and stuff. There happened to be a 5K that day, so I double dipped in the sense of like I did a
Okay.
5K for this other organization that helps
Okay.
with children that are going through cancer, and so it was like, well, I can be part of that, and that gives me excuse for another 3 miles, and still do something extra good for my birthday. So it's like and then there'll be other people out there, so I won't be by myself the whole time. But yeah, I started with like my run group and ran like 10 miles with them and then did the 5K. And then I had two other buddies that stuck around and ran the rest of it with me. That they kind of took shifts or whatever. But yeah, I just literally just ran around, where this, city where we live, just till I got to 35. So
Wow, yeah. Like not even on the trails like a lot of people probably think of ultra running in mountains or out in country trails, but just around your city
yep, yep. And just based it off my watch,
in
so
Nashville, correct?
yep, yep,
Yeah,
outside of
wow.
Nashville, yep.
Wow. And what did so this time what did training look like? You said you trained more for your last
Mm.
marathon.
Yeah.
You didn't decide to just wing it, and that probably made it a little more fun and bearable. But I'm curious what training looked like for this 35 miles. Like what'd you do to
Yeah.
prepare?
So that was, yeah, last year. So basically it started, the beginning of the year of essentially getting ready for the marathon itself. So it was a build up towards that, and I guess just the training plan, um,
Hmm.
and just following it strictly, but also I will say all credit due, to me, to my running group, Redeemed Runners that I run with, um, because they would show up, they run Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's never like there's always at least someone there. Like that it's incredible how they'll be there at 5 a.m., on a day like this morning, even though it was like 27 degrees, you
Woo.
know, they're there, and ready to run. And like I thought I was crazy, and I was like, and so they kept me accountable because, it wasn't even so much of them like hounding me because no one ever really hounds you. It's just, you're not going to be alone. Someone's going to be there, and it's a good time because you get to hang out with some cool people. And you don't really notice the miles because you're just kind of honestly just kind of socializing for an hour. And you're running, but they also help me just get those miles in, just time on your feet, which is a big thing that a lot of people say, for
Hmm.
running marathons or anything, is just time on your feet. In other words, literally just getting, time on your feet. Of even doesn't matter the pace or any of that stuff. It's literally just that's your endurance to be able to finish it, is just being able to not quit, is time on your feet. Now getting faster, that's other stuff, but just being able to do it is just
Hmm.
just time on your feet training. So that got me to the I guess, the physical state to be able to do it, if that makes sense. And
Time on
so
your
what
feet.
training looks like is basically 4 to 5 miles Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then it was like longer runs were Saturdays, which were, anywhere from 5 to 15, and at peak pretty much is like 20 miles essentially
Hmm.
on that Saturday, and then Sunday would usually be just a really easy, 3 or 4 mile, almost a jog kind of thing. And I didn't always do Sunday. It was usually Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and that was pretty much all I was doing. But yeah,
Okay. Sounds like, depending on where you're at in your training block, anywhere from like 15 to 30-mile weeks,
yeah.
as you,
And
yeah,
and
get up to it.
and the secret sauce is consistency. I think more than anything, if you can make a plan, whatever the plan is, and stick to it,
Mm,
you're gonna win. It doesn't matter what plan you make, whether just to finish a marathon or to run a 2 hour marathon, like unless you stick to the plan, like if you don't do you know all of it, then it's pretty much worthless, because it won't matter if you run a 4 minute mile one day and then never run again for 2 months. So
yeah, get out there. I love that. Consistency. I think we'll hear that a lot in this podcast, in this show. It's just getting out there.
same
Quick
with
caveat.
podcasting, consistency. Keep
Yes,
producing episodes.
this will be one of the first episodes, and we'll just keep it going.
That's good.
Um, yeah, for me, running, I started running to just get out of the house. It was during COVID-ish
Hmm.
times. I just
Hmm.
needed to get out. And started out as like 1 mile runs. And if, after a year now, it's only been a year, that progressed to where I can run a normal run for me is a 6 mile run. And I like it's the perfect amount of time. It's an hour during my lunch or in the morning. Um, and it's crazy to think that that's easy to me now. Like, just go out and run 6 miles. You tell somebody who doesn't run that, and they're like, "Are you crazy? Yeah, how many times do you do that a week?" Oh, well, my long runs, 10, 15 miles. It's like, what? Like, it's crazy how much you can progress when you're just consistent. I was consistent running 3 days a week pretty much for this last year, and the miles just went up really slow, really incrementally, and man, it's crazy looking back and seeing how far I've come. So anyway,
No, yeah, that's
uh,
that's it. That's if you guys weren't listening, that's all the secret is. You ask what's the secret? That's it. Because I can tell you the vice versa, or the opposite side of that. I finished that ultra over the summer, ran 46 miles in the matter of 10 hours overnight, and
mm,
then I basically didn't run for like 2 months because I was like done. And then I
wow,
finally decided to get back out there and just run anything. And it was like I had never ran in my life. Like I was so out
really?
of shape over just 2 months or whatever, or a
Oh,
month or two, or however long it was, for just quitting. You think you would keep a certain base level after running that much, but nope. It was almost like I started all over again. So,
wow. Okay, you've right scared me. I will not stop.
I mean,
Uh,
I hate to say it, it's, you know, consistency, I mean, you can let it go, obviously,
yeah,
for,
not go
a
as
day or
hard.
week or something, no harm. It's
Sure.
like, pushing a ball uphill or something or whatever. Like, you know, if you let it go, it's still up the hill, but um,
Yeah, it's like the
if you
momentum.
let it go too long, it's all the way back at the bottom of the hill and you got to start all the way over. So,
Yeah.
object at motion stays at motion, object at rest stays at rest. So,
Yes.
uh, you know,
Well said.
I
And
mean,
this,
I wouldn't believe it until it happened to me, and I'm just letting you guys know.
I
You might
appreciate
not
the
believe it either, but yeah, I couldn't believe it either. After 2 months, I was like, man, what happened? So,
I appreciate the warning. I had to take a week off ish of running for a cruise,
mhm,
which is also a weird thing as a new runner. You're like, what? Before I was a runner, I looked at people running on cruise ships and going to the
mhm,
gym on the cruise ships, and was like, what are you guys doing? Like,
yeah,
take
yeah,
it
aren't you on
easy.
vacation?
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, go to the buffet.
same.
What are you doing at the gym? Um, but it was hard for me to like not be running on the I did run a few times around the track on the ship.
Hmm.
But it was sort of a week off and came back, and I could feel it. It wasn't bad. too bad, just a week, but interesting how you can degrade after just not doing something for a little bit. But cool. So you mentioned also this 40 something miler, and
Mhm.
I'm curious what the story was behind that. That might be all
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
time
No,
for.
no. Yeah,
But yeah.
thank you for allowing me to so this was other something pretty special. Um it's called 30 for Freedom. It's an organization in Minnesota, I think is like the headquarters, but it's a nationwide and global impact of same kind of thing, but sexual trafficking, so anti-sex
Okay.
trafficking. They work a lot in the US, but also in Asia, parts of Asia as well, because fortunately that's a big problem there. But US actually is the biggest problem. Unfortunately, we're the number one in the world, unfortunately, and it's something that I think Americans don't want to admit or are blind to or turn a blind eye to. So, um,
Hmm.
if you haven't seen the movie um, Sound of Freedom,
Yes, that's it.
hopefully that'll shed some light on you. I'm not, not trying to, I guess, you know, shame anyone here, but it just opens your eyes and just make you more aware of what's going on, I guess. And so, Um, anyways, that 30 Freedom organization, running 30 miles, because that's how it started, was a guy for his 30th birthday, ran 30 miles, to raise $30,000 with 30 of his friends, and that's how it was born. So I only learned about this from one of the guys in my running group, that had done it a couple years. And, after doing my 35, for the Bolivia, I was like, okay, I want to do that for the next opportunity. So there was a time over the summer, it's called Run Under the Stars. It was in Kentucky. I forget the name of the town, but basically we ran on a horse track for 10 hours. So it's just get as many miles in as you can in the 10 hours. My goal was 60, which obviously came nowhere close, but um, and that was just a huge goal. Just to, I don't know. At the time, I had no clue what it was. I just put a crazy goal out there and just see how close I get to it, right? So
Yeah.
I did the 46, and just because I told everyone I was going to do 60, I ended up doing the other 13 the next day. But so just to keep my word, even though
Mm.
yeah, that was that run and a half marathon the next day was miserable. But so
Yeah.
anyways, that was another thing, was raising funds for that organization, 30 for Freedom, the anti-sex trafficking, and that's why I did that. And yeah, so the 46 was just the amount of miles I got in during that night. But yeah, the miles didn't really matter. It was like I said, it was
The cause.
the cause. Yeah. And it was another challenge to have to run that many hours overnight, which was a whole nother beast. Because um, anyone that's a parent listening, I've got, two young kids, obviously, so I'm usually in bed by like 9 at latest, maybe 10. So the event didn't even start till 8. And then, so about, 1 or 2 in the morning, I'm just
Wow.
like, I'm in another world. Like, I don't even, you know, I wish I would have opened, I had an energy drink can or whatever, or like the Celsius. I wish I
Uh,
would have opened it like 2 hours earlier, because I was
gosh.
a zombie out there and just like exhausted. And then I finally cracked it open after, because I was like holding on to it like a hand grenade or something, like case of emergency. And I finally opened it at like 4 a.m. or whatever, because the event ended at 6 a.m. And
Okay.
I was like back to life. And I was like, man, I
What?
wish I would have drank this like 2 hours ago or something. But anyways,
Dang. Lesson
so
learned.
but I was out there with a whole bunch of other crazy people, so it helped. So
Wow. I appreciate you coming on so much, Devin, and sharing these stories about your causes. I think this may be something that's commonly overlooked, but when I get on for race registrations and I see the charity bib, I go, man, that'd be cool. I don't know if I could like raise money though. Like I don't know if anyone would enough
mm,
people care and like actually donate. Maybe they would. Maybe I don't know. I've got all this doubt around it,
mhm.
but it seems like a cool thing to do. So this has been inspirational. I hope that maybe I'm signed up for a 50K this next year, but
Nice.
maybe my 50 miler could be a charity bib, 50 miler.
And
Like,
if you decide.
yeah.
Let me speak into your fear and anyone else listening. So I had the same fear. I only put my goal at like $300 for my 35, um, or maybe it was 400 either way. Yeah, it was super low because I was like,
Uh-huh.
there's no way anybody's like gonna donate more than like $20 to this thing, right? And of course, 4,000 just blew my mind. But
Yeah.
and even other people told me like if you aim small, you make a small target, people are only going to give $10 if you say I'm going to raise $100. But if you give them a big goal, they're going to compensate with, you know. So all that to say is like, if it's something you're truly passionate about and you can communicate that passion, people are going to feel that passion and they'll be behind that. Now, if you're just doing it out of like obligation, don't do it. If you're doing it because you truly believe in it, then that's where you should be. If you're doing it just because like, well, I just thought I'd, raise some money. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but make sure it's something you're truly passionate about. And also, yeah, that fear, like don't limit people of what they want to help. People truly want to help. And if you give them a reason to help or a why to help or a way to help, then they'll want to do it. So yeah.
Good advice. Picking something too that you really care about. I bet that comes through wherever you're promoting this. I would like you to speak to that too, but yeah, wherever you're promoting this, I'm sure in your words and your tone, it can come through if you really care about this cause or not. And I'm sure there's a cause out there that everybody would. There's a cause for everybody. That's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say.
Mhm.
So we could all
Correct.
find something. But I'm curious, how did you uh, spread the word about your fundraising?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what's the best way. I mean, I mostly just did it on social media, and
Cool.
texting some friends and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
and then of course talking with people like you and just wherever conversations came up, and just because it was an easy way of saying, what you got going on next weekend? Like, well, I'm doing this thing, like,
Yeah. There you go.
so what? 35 miles? Why? And then so,
Boom.
so you don't have to salesmanship it either, because I even felt kind of thing about that slimy or whatever, but it's not, but that's why I said if you truly believe in it and you're conveying that message, people
Hmm.
can see the authenticity and the passion and not be afraid to promote it as well too, because even though I had some really good friends, like, and I was promoting on social media, like even later, like one guy asked me like, "Hey, what's this thing you're doing? Are you kidding me? Like I've been going nonstop about it for like 2 weeks and you're you didn't get that?" Like, because so sometimes just noise, people just miss out on the message. So, don't be afraid to ask and tell people what's going on, I guess, same thing with your podcast. If you don't share it, no one's going to listen to it, right? I mean, so
Reach. That is what I need to hear. We're going to be sharing this everywhere. So super excited to spread this word. And especially now that having had this episode, this is going to be an impactful episode, I think, for a lot of runners and racers out there. Devin, wrapping up here, what advice would you give someone who's looking to run their first ultramarathon? If you were to, give them one tip,
mm,
what would maybe that tip be?
mm, tough question. So
Tough question.
deep question, leaving me right at the very end. So I think for everyone it's different. So I don't think there's a one size fits all, but I think maybe the one thing I can sum up from this whole conversation is probably find your why.
Mm,
So whatever that is, everybody's why is different. So your why doesn't have to be my why. Your why doesn't have to be anti-sex trafficking. Your why could be, to do it in memory of someone or just to prove to, heck, you could even use hate as your, just because people tell you can't do it. And use that to fuel your fire. I don't know. It doesn't have to be a whole righteous cause necessarily. It could be just a, hey, I want to lose 100 pounds or something. I don't know. It doesn't have to be I guess you don't have to have this super profound why. It just has to be a why you believe in and that yeah, that you resonate with, I guess. So find your why.
thanks, Devin. Thank you. I can confirm that my why has definitely
it started one way and it's evolved, and that's how it'll be for everyone, But for me, it was, I'm going to get outside, so I can get outside and lose some weight maybe. And now it's totally different. Now I'm trying to push myself, see how far I can go. And hopefully I'll find a righteous cause, because I think that's just next level. But I appreciate your words. Thank you. Let's all find our why. And thank you, Devin, for coming on today. Learned some amazing stuff from you today. Love your stories and your passion. Appreciate you.
No, thank you, Brendan. And I will say one more thing. The ultra community, the people that run those ultra marathons, are some of the coolest people, the most humble. So that's another reason to get out and meet some of these people. They'll be glad to help you along. I think, if anything, beyond the marathon, that's when people stop caring about the paces and the time limits and all that stuff, and they're just out there enjoying themselves. So that's one other thing I would say. Once you get past those, just some great people in the ultra running community. So
well said. Well, thanks again, Devin. Appreciate you coming on today, and hopefully we'll have you on another time, a future date.
I'd love to. Yeah. Just let me know when.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, Brendan.
Hey, Brendan here. I just wanted to thank you for listening to today's episode. As someone new to ultra running myself, I found these conversations to be super valuable, and I hope they are for you as well. And if you want to know when the next podcast episode comes out, make sure you subscribe to the show. Also, some exciting news. The Ordinary to Ultra Facebook group is live. This is a great place to meet other aspiring, new, and experienced ultra runners, and have any questions you have answered, get some advice, maybe find a running buddy that's local or maybe virtual. And it's just a great place to make connections with other psychos that like to run way too much. The link is in the description of this episode if you want to go join that Facebook group and make some awesome connections. And that is all. Thanks again for joining me today, and we'll catch you in the next episode.